Hey, everybody, welcome to Tactical Sovereignty. This is just a midweek episode that we're doing, and there's been a lot of people discussing a court case where an American national, or whatever she calls herself, because she changes things up a little bit a couple times in her court appearance. And a lot of people are discussing this. This is a video actually of a court case that I saw maybe a year ago, and people had shared it with me. And I had already seen it. And then I saw it being shared again a couple days ago. So I thought, this would actually be apropos. This is good timing for sharing things because we need to not only know what we should be doing in court, but what not to do. And this court case is packed full of the what not to do scenarios. And so I think this would be a good little video where people could take a peek and see that some of these things that they're being taught or told to do in court, I want to explain what they're for and why you shouldn't do it as we go through this. And we have a group member with us as well this evening. Michael Joseph is here with us. How you doing, Michael?
Sufficient.
Sufficient. We've had fun putting this together, and so I guess let's get rolling with the case.
So we're clear, I'm representing the, authorized representative for the legal fiction. And I cannot cross the bar if you, I can't cross the bar, you know that. It's all about
I can hear you.
jurisdiction.
Can you hear me okay?
I can, yeah.
All right.
It's not as sophisticated as my hearing aids, but I can hear you this time.
All right.
All right, I just want to be clear that when I was here for the arraignment, first off, I never had a first appearance. Within 24 hours, I was incarcerated for 13 days without a first appearance. Bond was set.
And that's true because you wouldn't sign the documents at the jail. Until you sign documents at the jail, you don't.
Where is
Okay,
that?
pause.
You have to sign it.
All right. In the very beginning, and this recording skips part of her opening statement because part of her opening statement where she's saying she's there as the authorized legal representative for the legal fiction or the legal person. Just before that, she says that she is there by special appearance. Well, special appearance is for one thing and one thing only. It is to challenge jurisdiction. So she mentions being there by special appearance and then keeps rolling on with her being there as the agent representing the legal fiction, which guess what? That's exactly what they want you to be doing. That's what they see you as doing. So that's not necessarily something that is going to assist you or help you because you're playing right into their game right there. Is there something you want to add to that, Michael?
No, it was, yeah, that I just cringed as soon as she said it. So there's certain words and terminology that make the back of my hair stand up on the back of my neck. So,
Yeah. And, when you're challenging jurisdiction, a lot of people tell you to challenge jurisdiction, and that's all they tell you. But there's actually like 11 types of jurisdiction, but there's three main types. One is subject matter, another would be territorial jurisdiction, and the other one would be in personam or personal jurisdiction. Those are the main three. So I kind of, like you said, cringe when I hear somebody say they're challenging jurisdiction, but they never say what jurisdiction they're challenging. That right there is kind of a red flag that somebody heard something on the internet or some guru told them this, and so they're saying it, but they really don't even know what it means. You can go ahead with the recording, Michael.
and another thing to take into account is we have no intel about what she done prior to this.
Exactly.
The judge was asking her, like, well, you were at this other location, you didn't sign something. So we have no idea what she said or didn't say in that situation, which means it may have put her in contract regardless. So just to throw that out there.
Yeah, she may have hemmed herself up even more earlier on.
Right. So it's almost like I think, Brian, you brought this up a while back. The whole challenging of jurisdiction has to be done immediately. There is a time frame with all this crap. It's not crap, but I mean in general. So if you don't do it in the immediate time frame, you might have some magical words later, but they're going to be useless.
You know what? That is a very good point, and let me add to that because I can hear what people are going to be saying right now. They're going to be going, "No, no, you can argue jurisdiction at any point during the case." Guess what? That's true. But you're not going to argue in personam jurisdiction halfway into a court case. You argue that at the immediate time that it occurs. Now, the reason why you can argue jurisdiction anytime throughout the court case is because, like I said, there's like 11 different types of jurisdiction, and nobody really knows what is going to pop up during the span of the court case. There may be things occurring that nobody even expected. And so that may be a point where you have to argue jurisdiction regarding, say, maybe a diversity of parties, for instance.
Now, is it okay? Some reason when you use the word argue, that cringes me a little bit. So there's a part of me that feels like you got to be on your toes, because if you got a good judge, like you just said, he can throw in anything else to establish the other jurisdictions. So you have to be on your toes, which is deflecting anything that's brought at you. Especially if you assume you think you know what it means, go ahead and just, I don't know what the right terms would be. It's either objection or it's, you obviously answer the question with a question. That always helps for sure.
Well, I know that word argue is maybe looked at slightly differently now in nowadays. I'll say this. One of the things that I've found is that everybody talking about how, oh, they've changed the definitions and this and that. Actually, they haven't. The definitions that the judicial system use are actually the original definitions of the way words were. That's why they refer to Latin as a dead language. It's not because nobody uses it. It's because it's fixed. Those definitions stay the same forever. And so they're actually going back and using definitions. If you go and read books from 100 or 200 years ago, you quickly find that out. And so when you hear the word like argue or argument when it comes to court, that word argue actually means to make clear or to explain.
Okay.
It's not a confrontational word.
Okay. All right.
Anything, because I couldn't find it. It just simply says within 24 hours, I would go before a judge. I had
You
felony
weren't properly
charges.
booked, so that's the way that was, but I'm not gonna argue with that point, but go
Okay,
ahead.
well, I just want to get it on the record that I am here on a special appearance, and I'm just the authorized representative for this birth certificate. It has been federally authenticated, if you want to take a look at it. It has been certified by the state and federally authenticated. I am the owner of this SQQB.
Sorry, that's just too much cringe.
No, that's okay.
Saying the word owner, and I'm just like, holy shit. Oh, sorry. I don't know.
Well, yeah, she says the owner of the SQV. SQKV. Okay. People need to know that's a Latin term, and it means he that lives. So what she's saying in Latin there is that she is the owner of he that lives, which makes absolutely no sense.
Okay.
What she's trying to refer to is the 1666 Sedicate Trust that was done in London, England, when London burned. They set London on fire because they were having a plague at the time, and they thought that was the best way to eradicate it. And then afterwards, the state was holding everybody's property basically in trust, and he that lives, if they came forward and proved that, yeah, I'm still here, I'm alive, I didn't move anywhere else, they could get their properties back.
Okay.
And she had mentioned something else in there as well. And you know, she's mentioning there also the special appearance. So
yeah, she mentioned she was talking about she authenticated the birth certificate, but it's just she kept repeating authorized representative and then owning. She kept, I don't know. That's another red flag, the word own. I don't know why.
Right.
That's just me again. So you can correct me because I know you know more than I do about this stuff. So,
well, not necessarily, but I will say now the authentication process for the certificate of live birth is something I recommend. In fact, I've got the full steps I put on WordPress for it because I noticed that nobody put the steps out there on how to do it. So I put it on WordPress for everybody. Now, when she's going and bringing this into court, and this is the frame that I'm showing here in the picture behind me. If you look in the upper corner across from where the judge is, you see her handing the bailiff the authentication. There is no reason or purpose at any time to be giving anyone that authenticated document. That is going to set some wheels in motion behind the scenes, and not all of us are even familiar of what all those wheels are, but they do change some things. I'm very serious about that, because I know of people that have done nothing else but the authentication, and their relationship with law enforcement drastically changed, especially in situations where maybe there was 5 or 6 people involved, but there was one guy there who had the authentication done. He was treated completely different than the other group was. There's no reason to be coming in and handing that over to them, because guess what? The state knows you've had it done. In fact, if I go back and order from my state of nativity, Michigan, a birth certificate, since I've already had the authentication done at the state and federal level, when the state of Michigan sends me a birth certificate, a certified copy of it back to me, it comes already authenticated. I don't have to go with that extra process, that extra step in it anymore. So anyway.
Okay, I didn't know that, because I got, I think, 3 copies of everything. So I have 3 certificate of live births, just untouched, 3 that are state authenticated, and then 3 that are, I guess the proper term, national or federally certificate authenticated. But I have never ordered another one since I did all that.
Yeah, and neither had I. So I thought, that's be interesting. Let's see what happens. So I went here about a year and a half ago and ordered another one from the state, and it already came pre-authenticated for me. And I was like, wow, that's cool. So that kind of tells you that those people at that level, they already know what's been done. And guess where, whether it's a trooper alongside the road or a judge, guess where they get their marching orders from? They get it from their higher ups, which would be the Secretary of State. They're not going to listen to you. They could care less what you have to say. People tell them all sorts of stuff all the time. They ignore that. They listen to what their bosses tell them. So when this has already been put into the system, there's no reason for you to be going and educating them and saying, hey, look, I've got the federal authentication. Here's a copy. They could care less. They already know that.
Yeah.
Do you understand what that means?
Not a clue.
Really? Okay. It means that I'm not in your jurisdiction. I stand on the land and soil. I'm under the public law.
Okay.
And I have a right to pass through service.
All right, so I take it you're representing yourself today?
No, I am presenting myself.
What the hell does that mean? Sorry. What the
No, you know what? She says something there that she's supposed to get passed through service. I can't believe that's something I have never heard of amongst all the gurus I've heard talk and things I've read. Now I know what a pass-through account is, but pass-through service? Have you ever heard of that?
No, and then she mentioned public something. I'm like, as soon as she said public, again, hair in the back of my neck goes up. It makes no sense to me.
Well, you know what? And here's something that would probably be a bit of an education for people, is that you hear people say, statutes and codes and regulations are not law. Yeah, that's to a degree true and false. Regulations and codes are a much lower form of law. But statutes, people don't realize, statutes are snippets that come out of the public law that's written by Congress, whether it's a federal level or at the state level. They both in your Congress are writing what's called public law. That's why you'll see something listed as like PL 103-7.
Yeah.
Because that's a public law. And then out of that public law, they create little snippets, which they label as statutes, because that public law might have a lot of stuff packed into it. And so in order to find exactly what you're looking for in the public law, they go and they put it into what's called statutes, and they codify it that way, so it's easier to find. So when she's saying that, she's not under this or that, or she's only under the public law, well, guess what? Everything they've written, their statutes and it all comes from the public law. So once again, she's just playing right into their hands.
Well, she contradicted herself basically.
Exactly. And when she mentions there again, the Sedicate Trust, and she says, do you know what that means? And he says, I have no clue. He knows what a Sedicate Trust is, but he's ignoring it because he knows what she's referring to. She's referring to the Act of 1666 that was done in London, England. And guess what? That's done on another continent. That's done almost 400 years ago and in a different country. It has absolutely nothing to do with the judicial system in the United States of America.
Okay. So you're not going to enter a plea today or work out negotiations or anything?
I'm not making any plea whatsoever. I have not consented to contract with this court in any way.
Okay, so Brian, did he give her a nugget there? Negotiating. She didn't even respond to that.
Right. Yeah.
Plea, and then you're like, or negotiating.
Or negotiate. This is what I tell people.
I don't know. I'm just throwing it's just something that, because it's the first time, I guess I should tell viewers or whoever's watching this, I've never seen this till now. So it's the first time I'm watching this. So that jumped at me because she went right past it. And sometimes, because I have a personal friend that actually had dealt with local courts here, and she had shared with me how the one judge she was kicking herself, had actually given her some clues, but she didn't grasp them until after the fact. So I'm not
exactly.
Clue, but I'm just noticing that she totally dismissed the other term he mentioned. Because my response would have been, no, I nothing to do with the plea, but I'm here for the matter to resolve it. Like that was the whole plea thing is a no-brainer, but you are there to settle the matter in a peaceful way.
And negotiation is part of that, which he mentioned.
I wasn't sure. Yeah, I was waiting for you to chime in because I'm assuming negotiating is not a bad term, but again, I'm very ignorant of definitions for these things, so that's why I'm hesitant to say anything.
Let me give a good example of this. In the beginning of a court case, or when things have really come to a head and it's finally going to be decided or whatever, the judge will start out and he'll say to the prosecutor, have you and the defense had a chance to talk? Because he wants to know if you guys have come to an agreement in your negotiations. Because if you've come to an agreement in the negotiations, then that means the judge no longer has jurisdiction to make a determination on his own regarding the case, because it's already been worked out. It's already been negotiated. I've mentioned before, there was a situation where me and someone else was arrested on just crazy charges. And the next day, I went immediately to the prosecutor's office and sat down and explained to the prosecutor what had occurred and said, this looks like these are the charges that are being pressed. And I told them, this is what I plan on doing about it. How can you and I work something out? And the prosecutor decided right there, I said, you know what, there's no point in moving with you any further in this. And they told me, you know what, you don't even need to show up to court. Don't worry about it.
Right, because basically, and I think the final sign-off is then the clerk of the court, right? I mean, I was under the assumption that they're not all powerful, but that prosecutor, whatever they do, process their paperwork. But then, the clerk signs off, everything's put in a file, and then that's, like you said, it's a done deal. Nobody else, even a judge, can come in and just change it or something. Right.
The clerk of court is basically the scribe. They're the one that chisels it in stone.
Gotcha. Okay, good. I had, based off my studies before, I know the clerk is very critical and everything. So.
And the clerk can also throw something out. They can throw a case out as well. I've had them do that. And I've had people come to me and I've told them to go talk to the clerk, and they'll come back to me and say, oh, the clerk says they can't do this or that. And I'm like, that's ridiculous because I've seen them do it.
Now, if a clerk throws out something, then that particular court case is no longer public record, like it doesn't exist. Is that correct?
I'm not really sure about that. I'm sure like maybe the arrest may be on record. It's really hard telling. It probably depends on the situation
Okay.
and whether the courts want to protect something, if you know what I mean.
Yes. No, I was just throwing it out there because, again, it's the internet, and people like to argue and throw weird stuff out. And in the past, when we would talk about things, they're like, "Where's your proof? Where's your proof?" And I said, "Well, some of this stuff is resolved privately." So I said, "There isn't, unfortunately, sometimes anything we can access to show you. Like show us the court case that proves your point, And I'm like, I can't because that record's gone. For like you said, it was like you just said earlier, it was negotiated, it's resolved, boom. And if it's done privately, it's not supposed to be really accessible for the public to look at. That's my impressions.
Well, and that also goes into, I believe, Article 1, Section 10 of the Constitution, of the federal Constitution, is that no state can impede on a private contract.
Gotcha.
That's what that plays into. And since we're speaking of records, and we're kind of stopping and going here through this recording. If somebody wants to listen to the whole recording, I'm going to be posting this down in the description box on YouTube.
Okay.
I'm an American state national. I'm not a sovereign citizen. That was a hate crime under which I was arrested, and the arresting officer has since quit his job at the Jasper Police Department.
Okay, she's bringing up hate crime. Okay, sorry. Okay, so I cringe.
That would be called her making a conclusionary statement.
Yeah,
right?
That doesn't. Okay, yeah.
And conclusionary statements. If you ever read a court case, you'll come down to the bottom and you'll see something called the conclusion. Sometimes it's called the opinion or the holding.
Mm-hmm.
You can't make conclusionary statements. And like saying hate crime, for instance, that's a conclusionary statement. And as far as a previous officer having, left the police force or whatever, the judge could care less about that. You have no evidence that anything you did or said had any influence over that situation. So both of those statements will go in one ear and out the other ear of a judge.
All right, well, safe, we can,
I have a file here that I have one prepared for both the prosecutor and for you, Judge, if you'd like to take a look and go along with me on what I'd like to bring before the court. My goal is that this case get dismissed with prejudice before I walk out today.
That's nice.
Yeah, right.
Okay.
She's instructing the judge.
Oh, boy.
Now, if you notice there, she said she's prepared something and she wants to give it to the judge, show it to the prosecutor, and they can follow along through it, which I guess is maybe her talking points of all the things she's going to bring up that she thinks has an effect on her case, which absolutely doesn't. Here's a situation. Whether those things you're submitting are total garbage or not, for county courts, I believe it's 9 days. You need to have, at least by mail, you have to have things submitted to all the parties involved 9 days before the case. That way everybody, that way everybody has time to go through it and read it. Think of a football game. When you're watching a football game, the ref doesn't blow the whistle and then go over and whisper in the ear of one of the coaches. No, he gets on his microphone so everybody is aware of the whole situation.
Yeah, it's no different. Folks that have actually gone through divorce, they'll be familiar with the process. You have to give the other party notice. That's just, if you want to argue as far as semantics, that's just true natural law, which supersedes everything. You have to give notice to, doesn't matter if it's another living being, corporation, agent, it doesn't matter. That's just respectful, and you have to give notice to the other person, and then you have to give them a reasonable amount of time to basically reply or respond.
Right. And that's why the courts are required, both in the code of civil procedure and criminal procedure at both the state and federal level, they are required to give you what's called discovery.
Yes.
You are
Right.
supposed to have everything, all of the information that they have that they're going to use against you is supposed to be afforded to you.
And don't they have to have exhibits if that's necessary, if they're showing that they have facts or evidence?
Exactly. Yep. Attached exhibits to it that backs up their claims. And myself, I say you do the same thing. If you're giving notice or giving a declaration or whatever you're saying to the Secretary of State, you need to attach exhibits that back up your statements.
Well, that's not gonna happen, but we'll take a look at those files.
Okay, do the same one for each of you.
That's not happening.
That's not going to happen.
Oh, it's just like the earlier before we paused it before that, and we were starting to talk. It was like then when we went to play back, it was a huge dramatic pause by the judge. It's just kind of like this. Just kind of gives you an idea what's going on.
This guy's being extremely patient too, by the way. He must not have anything else on his docket today.
Yeah, the courtroom does look pretty empty.
Yeah.
We'll take them under review for you. Give me
Okay.
one. Give Miss Tiffany one, she can take back and look it over. All right, well, here's what we're gonna do today. I'll look this over for you. I'll look
Okay,
this over.
this file is not completed. Let me explain. All the highlighted areas, I met with the clerk of court, Greg Godwin, and the areas that were in yellow here, I expected that he would be able to provide the information for me to complete these documents. I am not able to mail them until I can get them completed. He suggested that I talk with, is it John Durham, or who is it, Durant? Am I getting that correct, Tabitha?
That's Mr. Durrett, state attorney.
Durant, okay.
Mhm.
He suggested I should talk with him as far as getting this information completed. He said,
Yeah, so she's bringing up discussion with another agent that he had nothing to do with. I don't know. That's what's popping out. for me.
She's gone to the clerk of court seeking help and stuff like that. And I would recommend to something. A lot of people don't know this, that if you need help in filling out like an affidavit or whatever form, whatever the situation may be, that if you go to the law library at the county courthouse, there is normally somebody in there that at least has the same degree as a paralegal that will give you free assistance. They won't give you free advice, but they'll give you free assistance on finding forms and filling forms out.
that he wasn't able to complete the information. Otherwise, I can hire somebody to get this information for me. So if this case is not going to be submitted, but the first letter in here is a fair notice and warning letter. And it speaks to what the issues are here. First off, it was a false arrest because I do have a right to travel. No, and then also there is no contract. The application for a driver's license does not tell anybody that you are trading a God-given right for a privilege.
Okay, ignorance of the law does not count. That's the first thing that popped in my head.
Well, here's one of the things that I've brought up to people that are going through a similar situation, is that you can't step into court and say, I didn't know that I was giving up my God-given right for a privilege. Well, wait a minute. Why are you going and asking permission? If that's a God-given right, you shouldn't be going to the Secretary of State or Department of Motor Vehicles or Bureau of Motor Vehicles to ask permission for what you are saying is a God-given right. So you can't go later on and make this argument because you didn't make that argument in the beginning when you were told to get a driver's license.
There is no victim in this crime because I have a right to face an accuser.
Okay, I'm getting cringe. I'm cringing again. Okay.
Yeah, because she is facing her accuser.
Yeah, the whole victim thing. I got it. I've read that stuff. This, I don't know. This doesn't really, for some reason, this doesn't seem to relate to what she's talking about. This is a citation. Um, there's nothing about harm or victim or any of that stuff. It's a citation. You broke a policy you agreed to. That's what I see. I mean, I understand where people are coming from when they bring up the whole victim stuff, but I don't. For some reason, for me, my first gut is like it's that there's no weight there.
Yeah, you willingly entered into this contract
Right.
saying that you would keep your license up to date or your registration or insurance, whatever the case may be. You entered into that contract already, and the only thing courts do is enforce contracts.
Right.
That's it.
Right. It's. I think you're really stretching if you're going to try to bring in the argument that there was harm caused to you. I don't know. There is a place to bring that up, but for this particular incident or what she's talking about, I don't think so. I think it's just going to make her look like she's dumb.
You know what, Michael? One of the things I've often thought about, and you tell me, in your house when you're growing up, if your dad had a rule, mom and dad said, no smoking. We don't tolerate smoking. You kids aren't going to smoke, da da da. And then dad catches you back behind the barn smoking a cigarette. Are you going to yell and scream? Well, there's no victim here. He's still going to beat your butt, isn't he?
Yeah, pretty much.
And there's nobody here that was harmed. Deprivation of due process, Your Honor. You denied me a first appearance, and I have not heard the charges because I am hard of hearing. I brought that to the attention of the court at the arraignment.
So did you just say first appearance? Did you just say that?
Yeah, she says first appearance, so which I find kind of confusing.
Yeah, so in the beginning she says special appearance, and now she's I don't know.
Yeah.
That's just. I mean, you can correct me. That's like sounds like another contradiction she just said. Publicly.
Yeah, now she's saying that she had a first appearance and that her statements were ignored. She was hard of hearing, and a first appearance is your arraignment, where you're pleading guilty or not guilty.
Okay.
And your comment was simply, I'm talking as loud as I can. Well, that doesn't do any good for somebody who has a disability, and you have a responsibility to me under the Americans Disability Act. And so I have issues with that. So up until, I still haven't really heard the charges.
Okay. Is she, I'm confused. Does she really have issues hearing?
Well, seeing that she positioned herself a long ways away from, and yeah, if you go to like the defendant's table or the prosecutor's table, they've got a microphone there, which means the judge is going to be able to hear you clearly. The judge is using a microphone as well. So to me, that claim really doesn't stand up, and I'm sorry. She's not the Attorney General. She does not have the authority to enforce American with Disabilities Act on a sitting judge.
Right. I'm just confused. Of course, again, like we said at the very beginning of the video here, we don't know what had transpired before this appearance. So we don't have any of that information. It's just, I'm looking at this video for the first time. She seems to be hearing everybody clearly. So then now she's bringing this up. I just got confused there for a second. So let me.
Yeah. Now all of a sudden she can't hear.
Yeah. It just didn't make sense to me.
When it started out, I was slammed with 7 felony charges. Had a violation of my Fourth Amendment rights because.
Okay. Yeah. There we go. Sorry. I'm cringing again. Okay. So I know I'm not going to get into this with folks because I've dealt with enough people on the internet. So when you people, and I say you people, it's not you personally that are listening. I love to preface that. When you bring up the C word, okay, you bring up anything Constitution with me, I'm just turning it off. Okay. I comprehend That document's out there. Everybody talks about it. Everybody's shoving it down your throat. It's a red flag. I have nothing to do with that document. I didn't sign it or anything. It's just nothing for me clicks spiritually where that document has any significance as far as quote remedy for anything that you all are trying to do. That's just me. I'm not saying I'm right. I'm just telling you up front. So as soon as she said anybody's bringing up these amendments, just for me personally, I'm just like, nah, nope. I have nothing to do with that stuff. Yeah.
Well, and this is part of people's lack of knowledge when it comes to how the judicial system works. And I would say that the state both benefits and is harmed from that fact because people come with these pseudo law arguments, these things that they think are law or should be law, but really aren't. Such as in the beginning when she mentioned, within 24 hours, you should be able to see a magistrate. And she said she saw that written down somewhere. Well, somewhere, because she's not going to find that in the law.
They did a search and seizure of my vehicle. They tossed my car completely. He claims he found the phone in my car. He didn't. He took it out of my hand after shoving my arm. That was assault and battery. And then when I got into the police vehicle, my keys were in my pocket. He took them out of my pocket. All right, that again is assault and battery and also could be considered rape.
No, that technically is not rape. Okay.
Yeah, I think if she was raped, she would definitely know it. And here again, she's making a bunch of conclusionary statements.
Now, physical assault, that's a different topic. I don't know where she's going with that, but I'm just saying, again, I don't know. I guess she's covering possibly maybe the officer was manhandling her and could have been forceful, which I wouldn't surprise me because unfortunately I've dealt with that. And I'll tell you right now, I controlled myself. It was, anyways.
And well, at the same time, though, the judge knows because he sees this all day, every day, that people come in and they want to play the victim card. They want to make themselves look as much as a victim as possible to make the state look like the wrong guy as much as possible. So this is nothing new for the judge.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah, that is true because you watched this is the first time I'm seeing this. Yeah, because if she keeps going with this, yeah, I agree with the victim mentality. That's again, that's my opinion. The narrative that whoever you want to call, I don't care, Illuminati, Freemasons, the Crown, that's part of their agenda. They want to make sure human living beings embrace that victim mentality because that pretty much you're just relinquishing your actual power you have within yourself when you embrace that mentality. You don't want to go there. So
there's something to that I hadn't really thought about it. I'm just noticing looking at the photo of the courtroom because she's, like I said, in the upper right hand corner. You can see her reaching across, handing her authentication, I guess, to the bailiff. But in the foreground, that is the prosecutor's podium. And the prosecutor stays there standing the whole time. She never sits down, relinquishing the floor to the defendant or to the woman, as she prefers to be called. So I found that kind of curious anyway.
Yeah, I don't know who you're talking about because I thought because I see her standing at a podium with a microphone. And then I see a guy sitting at a desk.
The guy sitting at the desk would be the defense for the state, and she is behind the wall on the right hand behind him. The woman that's standing up in the foreground is the prosecutor.
Oh, I thought that was her.
No, she refused to cross the bar.
Oh, wow. Okay, thanks for that correction. I was totally thought that the person that's standing was the one talking this whole time.
And as you noticed, her not crossing the bar, did it change anything? No, they still kept rolling right along with the court case.
Okay.
So that's Guru Guano right there.
I feel stupid. Okay. Man, this whole time I thought that lady in the front was talking. Okay.
Prosecutor Travis Munden did not act for 8 days. He allowed me to sit in jail for 8 days with felony charges hanging over my head, of which you put a $38,000 bond on me without my participation.
Wow. 38,000. Holy crap. That sucks. Sorry. Okay, again, we don't have the intel from Bihorn, but oh man, what the heck did she do? Wow.
She wouldn't sign any of her paperwork when she was at the jail, so they just proceeded along without her.
Again, that was a violation or deprivation of due process. The felony charges were bogus. I'm an international notarial witness for the United States of America.
What the hell did she just
Yeah.
do?
She
I
is.
cut it short, but sound like I think she was about done saying it. There was like 4-5 words in that title.
She says that she is an international notary witness. And I'm sorry, but there is no such office. Maybe Anna von Reitz gave her that office. I don't know.
Wow. Okay. Thanks everybody for being patient here. This is the first time I'm seeing this, so that's why Brian's in charge, because hence why I didn't want to watch it, but we're good. All right.
Incorporated. I had those, were the driver's license?
Unincorporated.
Yeah.
Okay, this is not the place to bring up unincorporation, folks.
That she is the international notary witness for the United States of America, unincorporated.
Okay, that's contradiction, guys. I mean, unincorporated is actually a very valid term, but in this setting, no, it's kind of useless right now. So just.
And if she's an international notary, she'd be working for the United Nations. She wouldn't be working for the United States of America, because the United States of America is a nation of itself.
On my phone and birth certificates, because I do remote notarization for people. I had a right to have it. I had it by permission of the people that sent it to me.
Who the hell? Sorry, who is she talking about?
She's talking about herself and her position as an international notary witness. And she's saying that she does remote notarizations for people. Well, wait a minute. How can you do a remote notarization? Because the job of a notary is to confirm the identity of the individual signing the document in front of you. That's why if, say, you're doing a closing on a house or something like that, instead of running down to a notary's office, there's actually mobile notaries. If you're doing the signing at an office of, say, a broker, they will come to the broker's office. If you're doing it at a home, they will come to your home and notarize things for you, because they have to see you sign it and confirm who you are. So no, you cannot do a remote or whatever notary for people. It doesn't work that way.
She just mentioned people, and that's where I'm like, what people? Okay, it's just confusing to me, because I'm like, who are these people? So
the prosecutor Dana Brady she failed to act for 6 days. After on July 1st, Travis transferred it from the felony side over to misdemeanors. She sat on it for 6 days. I sat in jail for 13 days, not even knowing what was going on. And it wasn't until after I got out of jail and I called her, and while I was on the phone, she goes, "Oh, here it is." She asked me what my name was, and she goes, "Oh, here it is," and she opened it while I was on the phone. So Travis sat on it for 7 days. Whatever happened to due process? Don't they have a responsibility to act timely? Because I know I do.
Just pausing it because I'm sure the judge is going to respond at some point here.
Yeah, and what does timely mean to you? I'm sorry, the wheels of justice move slowly, and justice is expensive. That's why I always say, how much justice can you afford? Because if you want it to move faster, you got to throw more money at it.
And if she's going to start using any of the weird name stuff that people throw out, I mean, she said somebody called her on the phone, and then they said, "Are you so-and-so?" And then she obviously said yes or did something. And then they're like, "Oh yeah, here's your file." So I don't know, because she hasn't brought up the name stuff, so I don't know if she's going to do that. But that stuck out for me. So be a contradiction later if it comes up.
All right. I was kidnapped. And taken to a prisoner of war camp.
Okay, prisoner of war camp. Okay, that's, oh my gosh.
I don't think she's ever seen a prisoner of war camp.
Okay, I'm gonna I'll continue. I'm pausing it. This is the stuff that, okay, like Brian said, don't do, don't say, because that makes no sense, people. I mean, you can argue. Okay, sorry. Let me rephrase that. There is a concept. This is where I am mentally with, quote, this country, that we have an occupier, and as the occupier, they have rules of engagement for war. So there's a part of me that does kind of conceptualize this land organized that way. But using such terms, yeah, it's just not, no.
Yeah, those are pretty harsh terms. And I would also say, since you bring up that word occupation, have people ever thought that may be what your business license is? You have an occupation license. Maybe you're paying to be able to do something because you live in an occupied territory. Just an idea.
Yeah, no, I know that's another rabbit hole. So let me continue.
I had no choice in this, and I'm an American. I'm an American state citizen. I stand above this court. I stand above this court.
Okay, she's got to make up her mind what she is. She said American, then she's coming up with another term she's called. Okay, yeah, I guess that's a question I have. All of us wear different hats.
I think there was American national first, and now it's American state citizen.
Right, but did you hear right now? She just said, "I'm an American."
Yeah,
she stopped, like me visualizing. She said American, comma, and then she's going to the next one. Now I understand we all wear different hats in different capacities, and like Brian pointed out, different jurisdictions. Okay, but with what she's doing, you got to choose who you identify as. I know some people don't like that word, but for the sake of the conversation here with this video, you got to have something consistent. You start going all over the place, I don't know. It's just like, what's confusing me. And then number two, I feel like this is just gonna, like you said, Brian, this judge is being nice, but if you got a real asshole for a judge, they're gonna make an example out of you. I mean, they're just gonna annihilate you in court. So
yeah, they're just going to steamroll right over it, and go to Scripture. What does Scripture say? Choose this day whom you will serve.
correct.
Period.
And I know you've helped educate folks on this. And again, this is just a reminder in case one or two people listening to this don't recall this, okay? Scripture is really clear that you resolve your shit in private. It says it in Scripture. Resolve your argument or issue with your brother now. And if you don't, it goes to the judge. And again, it's chosen in Scripture. Then the judge will decide. So.
And what did the judge ask her? If she had any negotiation done.
Profit corporation. First time that I saw you, sir, was 44 days after my arrest. And again, my Americans with Disability Act rights were violated in that you made no accommodation at all for my not being able to hear you. So as far as I know, I never did put in a plea. I have not pled in any way whatsoever. I have not consented. I have signed absolutely nothing. I signed no citations. I have had communication with Tabitha and Dana. We have been writing back and forth on our 72 rule of response, and I can't get answers out of them. They keep telling, I ask for documentation, and all I get is no documents responsive, over and over again. I asked her for her oath of office on Florida letterhead, nothing. I get a scrap of paper.
Okay, yeah, sounds like she's bringing in a lot of stuff.
Well, that's something that I heard from a Jesuit one time that was given, he's kind of spilling things a little bit to people, was that this whole idea of asking for the oath of office, he said, you're using that against yourself. Because in the beginning of this, she said she's there by special appearance, right? So she's questioning jurisdiction. And now she says she was asking them for oath of office, which does what? It proves their jurisdiction. And guess what? The oath isn't to you anyway. So it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
I ask her for a signed contract on my side, I get a citation that's not signed. The citation wasn't even signed by the arresting officer, it's by somebody else, and it has comments in it that says I said something, and I would appreciate eye contact, sir.
Okay.
Yeah, don't you like to have eye contact while you're getting screwed? Look me in the eyes.
Well, something that does stick out, and again, or as always, Brian will correct me. So she's talking about this stuff with the citation not being signed, all that kind of stuff. Now, if that's true, what she's saying, I mean, that would be useful stuff as far as challenging the jurisdiction. Now, as far as if she did it the right way, again, we don't know. I mean, she's talking about being in jail for quite a while, almost 2 weeks. So a lot of stuff transpired before this quote appearance. So that's what's running through my head. She's talking about all this stuff, and that to me is like that would have really helped easily challenge jurisdiction. If you have stuff that's not signed, somebody else did it. Key thing is if you bring in the officer, they don't know shit, so they're not going to have evidence. That's another key thing. Because you're challenging their jurisdiction. You have evidence that I was driving, which means do they have? I'm not really good. I know there's some commercial drivers that actually drive trucks that will know this stuff, but there's supposed to be actual special type paperwork showing the goods, products, and stuff that you're transporting. In truth, the officer doesn't have any of that. So they really don't have actual evidence, But again, if you don't challenge this stuff immediately, everything just goes. And after you go past that time period, then it doesn't matter if you bring it up now. It's like you're already sealed deal,
Well, there's something else too, and this comes into the whole concept of operating in commerce. If the state sees you as being a commercial driver, you're required to carry a medical examiner's card. You have to have a physical done. They're not going to put just anybody behind the wheel of one of those big semis that say, might have serious heart problems.
Oh, okay. I did not know that.
I don't appreciate being ignored by the court. So anyway, I didn't sign anything. I have not contracted with this court. I haven't contracted at all. And why? Because I don't need to. I'm not on.
Okay, that's sorry. That's not going to work. Okay, this is getting personal for her now. Okay, so I guess that would be, correct me again, Brian. Folks, you really need to not take stuff personally. Okay? I know some of you know what I'm talking about, and some of you, if you choose a reaction of offense, you're going to have to work on that. Okay? Really, all this stuff has nothing to do with you personally. It's like Brian mentioned earlier. It's just all contract. That's their jurisdiction, is maintaining a contracts. Okay, all right. So if let's say you got a security guard that works at a university. Okay, and he's confronting a student about noise. Okay, and they can start going blah 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 blah. All that guard has to do is like, did you sign a contract to live here? And they say, yeah. I'm like, well, you broke your promise. Boom. That's it. No further discussion. Okay.
Yep.
Focus on the facts and what they're trying to contract you with. She's just, I can hear it in her voice. You guys cannot allow emotion in there, because then the emotion takes over your logic. And if you don't have logic, because I'm not dismissing emotion. That's a human trait. That's a beautiful part of creation. You got to stick to logic because that's the only way you're going to counter their shit. Logic, facts, and evidence. Okay. Yes, they can choose to be corrupt and they can do shit and throw you underneath a bus and put you in a cage. Okay, I got that. They can always do that anytime. Just like an officer can shoot you at the side of the road. Okay. You got to do is just maintain who you are and just deflect stuff graciously and peacefully. Doesn't mean you have to be a doormat. You can still be assertive, but you gotta not get. Seems like she's starting to get a little emotional. Let me see what happens. Again, it's the first time I'm seeing this, folks. So,
And the last thing they care about is your emotions and how you feel.
correct. Yeah.
Under these statutes, rules, regulations, codes, ordinances, mandates, and all the rest. I tried to explain that to the public defender here that you assigned to talk to me. And then basically everything out of his mouth came out right out of this hate crime document called Law Enforcement Guide to Sovereign Citizens. I'm not a Moor. I'm not a Waukesha Nation. I'm an American state citizen.
Okay, now, Brian, a contradiction, right? So,
Yeah.
didn't she say American national at the very beginning of the video? Did
Yep.
she not, or okay, just making sure because sometimes I do mishear stuff and I want people to correct me. Okay, yeah, something. She must have really gotten some. She's bringing up the sovereign citizen thing, so they must have really assumed that she was quote a sovereign citizen and just went to town with that on her. I guess is.
Well, and
bringing this all up, she must have done something weird with her.
And what is she doing? Okay, she's mentioning the Moors. She's mentioning Waukesha Nation Indians. So what is she doing? Is she labeling them as sovereign citizens?
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, none of that makes sense to me. She just, yeah, again, because I don't have any history. I don't know what the heck her interchange was. It makes no sense to me. So let me keep.
So I guess it's okay for her to label certain sects of people as sovereign citizens, but she doesn't want law enforcement doing it.
Weird.
To call somebody a sovereign citizen is slander. To put it in writing is libel. Sovereign is a king, somebody who is governing, self-governing. Citizen is somebody who works for another. It's an oxymoron. It's not even real, and yet law enforcement wants to act on that kind of foolishness.
Okay. Okay, yeah, who cares? Sorry.
Yeah. So she says she's a citizen, right? And she says that means that's somebody who works for another. Okay, so why is she challenging jurisdiction? Because she self-admittedly is working for the state.
Oh boy. Okay.
Even the public defender here believes in it. I'm a private living woman. My responsibility is to balance the accounts of the public, the public all caps name.
Oh, she did it. Oh, she did it. I
Yep.
told you.
She went there.
I held my tongue at the first 5 minutes of the video because I told you, well, I don't know if she's going to bring up the name thing. She did it. She did it. We're only at 9:45 right now. Okay, I'll click it. I tell you guys the name stuff. I went through all that crap 12 years ago. I'm just telling you, please do not get hung up on the name stuff. That's all I tell people now. I know that's very general advice. Okay, sorry, let me preface. That's not advice, okay? Just an opinion of mine. What you do, I don't care.
Upper lowercase, it doesn't mean squat. There's no authority behind it. That's not where the authority lays at. The certificate of live birth that I hold is in upper and lowercase. And it's been 10 years or more, but when I've had court situations, guess what? I received my documentation in upper and lowercase. So does it change anything? No. Doesn't change a thing at all.
No. The only thing I will comment is that when you know who you truly are, you can mentally and spiritually discern the difference between fiction and the living spirit. So I'm there with you folks as far as like when you start talking about the name and fictions and stuff. That the level is true. It's just when you start bringing it into these contracts and stuff, I don't know. I feel like it's going to be useless. You got to get your shit together before all this. You got to have everything precede things, okay? So you're not going into this private venue. Should not even be there. So, but also I know, again, there's a whole bunch of history she went through, so I don't know what the heck she went through. It didn't sound fun, though.
And to keep the public charitable trust in balance. Roosevelt put us on an all debit system, and these credits have been stolen from the people.
Okay. All right. Sorry. We don't have to comment. I'm just, again, this is red flags for me, folks. We just, it just has no relevancy here. This is really just making her not look good. So.
And all I'm trying to do is my responsibility here. So I'm planning to subrogate this. If you look at the second document, or maybe you already have, you've seen.
Okay, subrogate. I know that term is extremely relevant, but I don't think she's using it in the proper format, though.
Right. That's become a hot topic, the whole subrogation thing.
Yes.
Just like arbitration here a couple years ago was a hot topic. And, I said at that time, this was going to get people in trouble. And I'm here to tell you right now that I'm dealing with individuals right now who were involved with it that are now starting to see some of the ramifications from these bogus arbitration things. And when I got my first phone call, I just kind of shook my head. I was like, oh my God, I knew this would happen. And here she's bringing up subrogation, and people need to understand what subrogation is.
Right, exactly. Thank you. People, please, when you use any of this stuff, please actually figure out what it really means. Please. That's all I'm asking. Please. Don't watch one YouTube video and you got it. Please research stuff. Due diligence. And even if you hear something that makes you uncomfortable, great. Access that opposing viewpoint and say, okay, why are they basically saying what I'm thinking is wrong? Trust me, you'll be thankful later. Just figure stuff out. Take the extra time. It'll be worth it.
List of people I will send it to. Governor DeSantis has been involved in my case. I have a letter here that was sent to him. If you would like to see that, let's see.
Okay, you sent a letter to the governor. That doesn't mean he's involved with you.
Yeah, all that means is his secretary saw it and threw it in the garbage.
Yeah, unless you got a letter from him, that's different. But what is she doing, man? I can't follow it.
If Governor DeSantis is involved in her case, then evidently somebody needs to summon him. He needs to be subpoenaed.
Thank you. Yeah. So yeah, it's just I guess contradiction. I don't know what the right verbiage is for what she's saying. It's just not making any sense.
Maybe it's in one of the other files. Anyway, he has been involved in this as well, because he is also part of the problem here, in that he is not assisting the Americans within this state to be safe from the harm that is being caused by this system, by the law enforcement officers and deputies who are not educated as to who we are.
Okay, Brian will correct me because you got a lot more experience on this, and to help out the other viewers, because I admit to my level of ignorance. The governor is really not important. Secretary of State, key, right? Brian has brought this up numerous times. You can even look this stuff up, and it's interesting if you dig deep enough. The Secretary of State, based off my studies, kept popping up. When I try to sift through all the crap and the bullshit and the misinformation and disinformation, I look for patterns. So if I see something that keeps coming up, that to me means I need to look at it. So Secretary of State is very important if you're trying to do things correctly and have your paperwork precede you. So I'll let Brian fill in the rest, or just say that's if folks just say that is it, then you need to go ahead and start doing your research if you haven't. So.
Yeah, I'd say you're correct on that, but there's two things there that she mentioned. And like you said, go to the Secretary of State. When you read, and this is, to me, it was easy to figure out. When you read United States Code, which is the codified public laws written by Congress, when you go read United States Code, all through it, it says, does it say according to the president or whatever this president says goes? No, it doesn't say anything like that. It repeatedly says according to the secretary or pursuant to the secretary or as the secretary allows. It's constantly talking about the secretary. Never talks about the governor, never talks about the president. And when she's saying that the governor is supposed to be assisting Americans, false. Beep. No. The governor, his job is to protect Floridians. And when she says that she is a state citizen and not a U.S. citizen, then that means she is not an American either. She is a Floridian. And so, correctly, she should be saying that the governor should be protecting state citizens, us Floridians. So when she says that she's American state citizen, those are two contradictory terms.
I had sat down, I had noticed both the police chief and the sheriff on 2 different occasions, they have my fee schedule as to what I'll be charging when this is all over, and I have.
Okay, guys. Okay.
It's one of my favorites.
Again, it's the first time I'm seeing this, and again, I hope this isn't driving people nuts that I keep pausing and stuff, because Brian usually, he's in charge here, so he'll tell me when to pause and stuff, but again, I automatically do it when I start cringing or I'm red flag, hair in the back of my neck stands up. Okay. I comprehend where people are coming from with the whole fee schedule. Trust me, I actually was really researching that years and years ago. Was going to have it all drafted up. No, man, because it's going to piss people off. And again, if you have not done your due diligence, this stuff's going to really bite you in the ass, people. It's just, I'm telling you.
Well, what do these nationals like to keep saying? Those are so-called nationals. By the way, just as a reminder,
right, for the sake of the conversation, yeah, right.
If you go and look up definitions, there is no difference between a national and a citizen. They're the same word. But when you're talking about these things, the state nationals will say, where's the contract? She said it herself repeatedly. Where's the contract? Well, if you want to notice somebody of a fee schedule, what do you think they're going to say? Where's the contract? Where did I agree to this? And on top of it, who the heck is she going to have enforce it for? Is a collection agency going to take care of it? I doubt it. In fact, definitely not.
Now okay, that would, I'm also going to say she can't. You can contract with agents, okay? But there's a certain way that you have to go about it, and like Brian says, you can't utilize their court systems to get a judgment summary, okay? So an example, right? Telemarketer calls you or somebody knocks on your door and they're like, I would be more willing to listen to you, but I'll be listening to you at $50 an hour. So what's happened is you are actually starting a contract, but the other party then can basically decline it or not. So then if they don't, or they didn't decline it, but they didn't realize they didn't, that's a whole different thing, folks. But you got to probably have to have, have it taped somehow or a microphone. Because if, like Brian said, if it's not in writing, it's really hard to enforce it. I guess it would be the proper term. If it was an actual, because verbal contract is fine, but unfortunately, it's he said, she said kind of crap. So I don't want people to. I'm not saying throw out the whole fee schedule. I'm just saying the way she's doing it. No, you got to establish the contract if you're dealing with people. But I would bet her interactions probably wasn't done properly if she was trying to throw the contract back in somebody's face. I don't know that. I'm just assuming her initial confrontations she probably didn't do it properly. I'm guessing.
Yeah, by her current actions, I'd say no. There's a right way and a wrong way, and
Yeah.
what we're showing you here is totally the wrong way.
Yeah, and if she's basically interacting with people before she got thrown in a cage, like she is right now, yeah, I can see why she got $38,000 bond or whatever they call it, bail. Sorry. Yeah, this is not good, folks. It's very confusing to me.
To come back and have my rights restored and my property restored. My car was towed from in front of the police station. That's where I was when all this happened. I was in talking to Chief Rickerson. I went in and I noticed both the chief and the sheriff, the clerk of court, and the property appraiser when I got here back in March, that I was an American state citizen and I'm not a U.S. citizen. They were both noticed. They've both been noticed twice. And along with that was the fee schedule of what I charge when my rights are violated.
Okay.
Now, are you seeing some background of what happened here? She came into the state and went immediately to county courthouse, whatever, sheriff's station, and started poking the bear. Don't poke the bear.
It's confusing me. Yeah, her tall and like I'm. Boy. Okay, folks. So, all right. I'm only just. I guess it helped. I don't know if it'll help anybody. So I'm getting my initial reactions might be useful or useless. It's not. I'll ask your forgiveness in advance. Okay, so like what Brian said, let me kind of write on that. Okay. Personally, privately, for me, I am not going to give these people anything. I'm not going to give them anything that they can use against me. That's all. I don't know if that makes any sense. Okay. So even though you might be so-and-so, okay, and this is who you truly are, who gives a crap? Now, if another party challenges and contradicts who you are, you deflect it, and then the burden of proof is on them. That's it. That's it. It's not complicated. I don't know what it is. It's like when I just have normal interaction with people, I have no urge to escalate shit. It's just if you do something and I'm sensing your intentions are impure and you might be possibly harming me, then I will react a certain way and adjust myself. But anything before that, I'm not going to be saying anything. It's just, I don't know, man. Just sometimes folks talk too much. Silence goes a long way. Doesn't mean you're acquiescing. I'm just saying it goes a long way. You got to deflect stuff by graciously kind of like not giving into it. Don't interact with these people, man.
Talking with the police chief for the fourth time. We have sat down and had 4 conversations on how we educate the officers to know the difference. So people.
Oh boy. Okay. Yeah, you're right, Brian. So yeah.
She moved into town. She moved into town, and she was going to go to the sheriff, the highest law of the land, and let him know that they had a American state national citizen living there, and he maybe should have a meeting and let all his deputies know. I don't know.
Okay. I actually I'm very sad for this lady. I'm starting to react that way. I'm actually getting not depressed. It's more like I want to give her a hug or something. So,
well, Michael, remember in the beginning when we mentioned this and you said you watched like the first minute and you just cringed and couldn't listen anymore? That was the same thing for me, is that listening to this is like my ears were bleeding. You know what I mean? And I thought about doing this evening, something like this, and going over this court case. And I thought, God, no, it's just too painful. I can't do it. But then I thought, you know what? There's too many people out there just like this sweet lady that are sucking up all of these ideas and these legal theories, or legal fallacies rather. And if they go and try using this stuff and think that this is educational material that they're seeing on YouTube from this lady, they're sadly mistaken, and it's going to get them in a world of hurt, like it did for this nice lady here.
Right. And unfortunately, also, quote again, fill in the blanks, the puppet masters, they love this crap. All right. Because then they can lump all of us together that are doing things properly or the best of our abilities and lump us together with all this crap, folks. This just really does not help everybody overall. So, okay.
Not harmed on the side of the road. I wasn't even on the side of the road. I was parked in front of the police station when all this went down. I wasn't even in my car. This officer got in my face back in April, and he stood there. Okay, I was meeting with the police chief, Chief Rickerson. At that time, he was an interim police chief. And this officer barged into our discussion and got in my face and started spitting on me with his saliva. He was like this close to me, yelling at me, telling me, I'm a police officer for 25 years and I've dealt with plenty of people like you. And he went on and on and on, okay? No, he hasn't dealt with anybody like me because I know my rights. And I've studied this. Why?
Oh, boy. Okay. Yeah, no comment there.
Well, let me add something to that. When people say they know their rights, very often they'll say, I've read the Constitution, I know my rights. Well, number one, Constitution doesn't list anybody's rights in there.
Yeah.
And on top of it, I love when I hear people talking about rights and the rights of Americans, because 99.999% of the time, they never bring up the words duty or responsibility. Well, if you go and start doing any research, even go to American jurisprudence, whatever, and start reading about rights and where they come from, you're going to find that the words duty and responsibility are tethered at the hip to the word rights, because you cannot have one without the other.
And I will tag onto that. And you folks have probably seen me make this comment on some of Brian's threads. Whatever you choose, okay? Whatever words, actions, decisions you make, there will be consequences. All right? That's it. That's fact. Nobody can counter what I just said. Okay? That's basically truth with a capital T. Now, how you choose to react to those consequences, that is up for debate, and it's different for everybody. Okay? So you got to ask yourself, are you okay with that? And if you're not, you're going to have to rethink. Right? Doesn't mean that you can't be free. I'm just saying, like Brian said, when you decide you want to be who you are, just be prepared. Doesn't mean that you're going to be harassed or people are going to hate you or throw you in a cage. I'm just saying it doesn't matter what you say or do. There's always a consequence. That's just the way it works. And you just got to be prepared for that. And if you're not going to embrace it, then you're going to have to adjust and change your mind and make different choices and use different words. That's all I'm saying. Okay, folks? I know some of you are not going to like that, and you're going to blame somebody else or blame the government or they're forcing you or whatever it is. Nobody forces us to do anything. Okay. And you're like, well, I had to do that or they throw me in a cage. I said, I got that. I said, that's horrible, but you still had a choice. Yeah. Then you get thrown in a cage. Okay. All right, folks. I'm just saying, because when you start talking about holding your ground on what you think are your true principles, trust me, most of us have never experienced that to the fullest. Okay, a lot of us weren't here back in the 1400s, and we're part of a tribe, and the Spaniards came over and wanted to enslave all of us, and all of us as a group said, no, that ain't happening. So the Spaniards wiped out the entire society. See, that is true holding to your principles, okay? So we always do have a choice. It's just, are we okay with the consequences of it, okay? That's all I'm going to say. Not saying right or wrong on anything, because the consequence gets a lot of bad rap. Consequence is just a consequence, okay? So.
Because you could not get through the 2020 election and not know that there's something seriously wrong with this country.
Okay, folks, bringing up the election. Okay, folks, you got to make a choice here. You're be part of the system and support it or not. I mean, it's really not complicated, okay? Are you going to go along with the system, which means you might have to relinquish a few rights temporarily? Doesn't mean you'd never lose them. I'm just saying you relinquish it for the benefits. Okay, this sort of blew up on one of Brian's posts. Okay, you got benefits. All right, all this stuff has benefits. That's a key word for me. All right, that's a big term. That's why you'll sometimes see me use it a lot. All right. If you are partaking of the benefits, you're in contract, folks. I don't care where you're coming from or what mumbo jumbo you're going to throw out. If you have the benefits, that's it. Okay. So if you don't want to deal with stuff or you quote want to be free or whatever, you cannot have the benefits. You got to decline the benefits. And then, like Brian has already shown you how to do that, you got to put some paperwork on public record showing, like, no thanks. Right?
Yeah, he that accepts the benefits also holds liability. Nobody wants the liability.
No. I mean, it does kind of suck because I'm not saying the benefits are sweet, but they're intertwined with so much crap that happens around us. Okay, trust me, it's very difficult to operate without a bank account, Social Security. I got all that. Okay, it's a pain in the ass. Totally there with you. But at the same time, if you really want to get into this and get into it deep, you're going to have to make a decision. No benefits or benefits. It's one or the other. All right. Now, it doesn't mean that you can't use a private trade and have commerce. I'm just saying some of this stuff is really tied. I mean, they got everything. They got you at every string, there's a lot of strings attached or spokes on a wheel. There's a lot. It's not just one thing. You got to cut like a lot of stuff. All right. Especially when we get into the discussion of fiat. We won't go there because that's another rabbit hole. Yeah, don't use. Yeah, if you're gonna use Caesar stuff, Brian said, it comes with it. Terms and conditions. Okay.
Render under Caesar what is Caesar's.
Yes.
And I have seen this coming for many, many years. I've studied it with my husband. My husband passed back in 2010. In July of 2016, I read an article that the Pope had relinquished our Social Security accounts to the U.S. Treasury, and I knew something had changed, something was up, and I went looking. And when I went looking, I found at least 20 organizations trying to help people come out of slavery, come out of this U.S. citizen slavery.
Okay, that's pretty much 3 red flags there, she just said.
Yep. And the judge could care less.
Yeah, she's bringing up the Pope, folks. Again, I know some of you might be into this stuff. We're not going to have it go on a tangent, a rabbit hole about the Vatican. There's enough information out there. There are some things that are not good about the Vatican, that particular corporation. We got that, okay? But the relevancy, what the heck does it have to do with you right now? Okay? Right this minute, on this particular landmass, that's that's relevant. If it has nothing to do with you, don't be getting into it and don't be bringing it up because it's just going to make you come across as stupid. That's a fool. Scripture used that, which is actually worse than the word stupid. So you do not want to be a fool, folks. You don't want to project that to these people because then they're going to treat you like a fool.
And don't bring up things that you can't prove. If you want to talk about a Sedeke trust, well, you need to be able to prove that you are an officer or hold a position within that trust. You can, most often what's asked for is, where is your letter of certification for the trust? That's all you have to show to prove the trust exists. Well, if you're claiming a office or position within a trust and you cannot prove that the trust exists, then you could be held liable for fraud.
Right.
Same with anything. If you are claiming something that does not exist or that you cannot prove exists, then you're the one actually operating in a fraudulent behavior.
And then she was bringing up 20 or more different types of people teaching. I mean, I've got guys, just red flag. Okay. Just from my own private experience, I coughed up a lot of fiat and, it has not done me any good. Okay.
Yeah, bring Kate Gaia in to help represent you. See what happens.
Careful, Brian. Let's focus on the video.
All right.
You're a slave to the British Crown, which is the administrative arm, to the Pope, which is the financial arm, and to Washington, D.C., the District of Columbia, which is the military arm of the one world government.
Okay. Wow. Okay. Yeah, she is all over the place, people. Yeah. I mean, she is really not making any sense. It's almost like she went on YouTube and she took all these separate things and she's just stringing them all together in one sentence.
And unfortunately,
I would assume,
they become the talking points of her life, and that's a sad thing.
yeah. I guess I'm assuming, Brian, the people that follow you or in our groups, I'd have to. I mean, I'm always like this. I tend to go more the positive, optimistic viewpoint. Over 50% of the quote members are not doing this. That's my assumption. I'd say over 50, or I even go as high as 75%. If they are doing this kind of stuff, this mumbo jumbo, all this stuff stringed together, boy, folks, you really got to exercise some due diligence. You really, as much as you think you know everything, no, you don't. You're going the opposite. You're almost committing to a different cult. And I'm telling you right now, if you're going to commit to that cult, you're screwed, because you might as well be a statist. That's all I'm going to say. Okay. Your life's going to be much more pleasant if you just stick to being a statist versus going to the other mumbo jumbo patriot nut guru crap. I'm just telling you, life is going to be very unpleasant for you.
And no matter how much truth there may or may not be in the statements that she's made, none of the people in that cult are going to come rescue you. You're on your own.
Yep.
Well, I don't go with that because I serve a king. I serve the Almighty King. That is who I am. I am a child of the King. I'm not a U.S. citizen. I'm a child of the King, and I have rights that were given to me, sovereign rights given to me by my Creator. And I live by the Bible. I don't live by any kind of religion, sir. I read the Bible cover to cover, and I do what it says.
Okay.
Well, hold on right there. I mean, right there. Now you are seeing the double-minded man, because first she said that she's a state citizen, and that a citizen is someone who works for someone else or works for the state. Now she's saying that she's a child of the Creator, of the Almighty God. Well, make up your mind. Which are you? Are you serving the Creator, or are you the citizen that's serving the state?
I'm not going to go into the Bible either. So we're not going to go there, right? I'm already making this video long enough. I don't want it to be too torturous. I mean, it's probably because of me it's being torturous, but oh boy.
And when it says that there are 2 commandments in the New Testament that Jesus, or Yeshua, I prefer to call him by his Hebrew name, the 2 commandments, to love God above all things and to love your neighbor as yourself, I live by that. But that's a summary of the 10 commandments that are in the Old Testament, Exodus 20. And the first 5 commandments are how you love your Creator. And the second 5 commandments is how you love your neighbor. And I live by that, sir. And this officer had to break several of those commandments to put me into this system. He had to lie, and he had to steal my property. And if this is the system that this government or this for-profit corporation is trying to force on the people, then you guys should all be ashamed of yourself.
You gotta have facts and evidence to back it all up, though.
Well, she said several times she refers to it as a for-profit corporation.
Yeah.
And actually, if you want to go to, it's either on Security and Exchange Commission or Dun & Bradstreet, the United States is listed as a nonprofit charity.
Yeah, I seen that. I seen that plaster on years ago. I never was able to confirm that. But there's a part of me that would be surprised, though, that they are all defined as nonprofit, because I don't know.
You've got more, and that's why there's so many nonprofits. You have more leeway as a nonprofit
Correct.
than
Yeah.
you do as a for-profit.
Yeah.
And the money that comes in for nonprofit agencies, a lot of people don't realize this. The money that comes in for these charities, 99% of it doesn't have to be given to whatever the charity is supposed to be all about. A lot of the money can go to their organization, to their officers, to their expenses, and a portion of it can be set aside for a period of time that will go towards whatever they claim the charity is helping out. And then after a certain period of time, those monies are freed up to do whatever they want with.
Yep.
So technically, almost not a dime necessarily has to go to the charity. Look at the house that the owner of some of these charities live in. Just throw that out there.
Yeah. No, you're right. I mean, you made a valid point. So as far as charity, and we're not talking just, governments and agencies, it could be any charity. Yeah, they can funnel that to their operational expenses for sure, which means that includes salaries, paying people, paying themselves. So it's all together.
The only charity that I ever met that really gives back anything to its donors is a girl by the name of Charity that dances on a pole downtown.
Oh gosh.
Anyway.
Okay, you had me there. I was like waiting. I'm about ready to write down, what is this charity he's done? Okay, you got me there. Only my dreams.
I am asking, I'm not asking, I am demanding. See, a sovereign does not motion the court. A sovereign.
Okay. All right, I'll keep playing. Yeah, we're contradicting. We're using, oh boy, folks, you've got to get your ducks in a row. This is all over the place, people. You can't do this.
Earlier, she was not a sovereign. Now she is a sovereign.
Oh gosh. Okay. I mean, there is a difference between asking and demanding. There are differences in those terms for sure. She is just like one. Man, it's like a salad. You just keep adding stuff. I thought she was done. She keeps adding stuff to the salad.
Well, let's hear and say. Let's wait and hear what the judge has to say about all this. Let's see what impact this has.
Demands. I am demanding that this case be dismissed with prejudice because I'm going down for the count. I'll take whatever punishment you give me. And I think my 13 days in jail without signing anything, just for comfort, should give you an idea of the fact that I finish what I start. I went into that jail, Your Honor. I was quite a surprise. I wasn't prepared for it. If it hadn't been that I took a couple in who were homeless, I probably would have ended up going home to a dead dog in a house full of crap. But that gentleman, the people that I took in who were homeless, called my girlfriend and said she didn't come home last night. Well, my girlfriend knew that I was on.
Okay, you're bringing up personal stuff. I'll keep it going, Brian. I'm just
personal issues and feelings.
Yeah, this is stuff that has nothing to do with what she's there for. Wow. Okay.
My way to the post office in Live Oak, and she knew I was going to stop by and talk to the sheriff. So first call she made was to the Suwannee County Jail. Second call was to the Hamilton County Jail, and she found me. I was sitting in jail. I've never been in trouble with the law before. Do you know what it's like for a 73-year-old woman to have to stand there and take her underwear off and stand in front of somebody else? That was so humiliating. You want to talk about rights? Let's just talk about basic humanity here. And I was given an orange swimsuit. I don't look good in orange at all.
All right, like I said, this proves my point I said earlier, right? When you do things and say things and have certain actions, there are consequences.
And they aren't going to ask you what color you look good in.
Wow. Man, I was right about giving her a hug earlier, man. This is stuff like, oh my gosh, it's horrible.
I have to bring some humor so I can stop crying. I wore that jumpsuit in my underwear for 13 straight days because I wouldn't sign your paperwork, because I would not come in contact with this corporation, this for-profit corporation. You're not a government, let's be honest. Because I wouldn't come in contact with you, I suffered extremely. I was 3 days in a row, I asked for a sweatshirt. I was freezing. You got a swamp cooler in that jail. It's loud and it's cold. And every guard was wearing a jacket, and every inmate had a sweatshirt except for me. 3 days, I asked for a sweatshirt. On the 4th day, when I asked, the guard said, "You don't sign out paperwork, you don't get nothing."
Okay, so Brian, correct me here. This is something I've thought about. I might be, probably a little flaky and probably not a good thought process. Fortunately, so far I haven't been thrown in a cage. I've had some situations that it could have happened, but fortunately I was blessed and it didn't happen. Okay. If I ever did, there's a part of me that actually was going to choose not to be eating and drinking anything. That's just me. Probably that's not a healthy thing, but if I didn't do anything wrong and I did everything properly and I get technically, based off evidence, kidnapped, I'm not gonna deal with these people. I'm just gonna be, just close off everything. Now, her talking about signing stuff, I'm under the impression that if they give you paperwork and they want you to sign it, you can go through that contract and cross out stuff and go ahead and put your autograph on there. I don't know what, unless I'm missing something. I don't see why somebody can't do that. You read through it, and if there's stuff in there that, yes, technically is incriminating, you cross it out. So now then, if they don't accept it, then that's a whole discussion. You made an attempt. You tried to negotiate. You conditionally accepted their contract, and then they refused. So that's just where I was thinking.
Yeah, and if you're going to stand your ground, say not eat and drink or not sign stuff, whatever, you can't cry about the repercussions of it afterwards. You need to be able to stand up with your head up high, because you stood your ground.
Yeah. Oh no, I know. I wasn't comparing what I would do like hers. I mean, this stuff is breaking my heart. So I was just talking about myself where I visualized it. Of course, it's up for grabs if I would actually do that, but that's just if I was truly kidnapped. I'm like, screw you people. I want to, and then also I would be afraid to be poisoned. So I don't negotiate with kidnappers. That's just my mindset. This stuff, I don't know. Again, without history, man, what the heck did she say to motivate him to throw her in there? I don't know. It's just.
Well, evidently she kept poking the bear, because she referred to a time where months earlier she had gone in and there was an officer who yelled and screamed and spit in her face, and then later on was the time when she had been arrested, which was a time when she was back at the sheriff's station, I guess, educating them once more.
Yeah.
Well, guess what? That first interaction that she had with an officer spitting in her face should have let her know right there, you know what? These are people I don't want to deal with. So guess what? Stay at home, watch Days of Our Lives, read United States Code, do whatever, but don't go downtown and poke the bear.
Yeah, that's real sweet. There's a camera right above the toilet. Yeah, that's real sweet. You're sleeping on a steel bed. When I went and signed their paperwork, they gave me a mattress where the fabric was touching fabric. I have a 9-inch spread, thumb to little finger, and I can tell you that the padding of that mattress lay within a lump, 12 inches by 30 inches. The very first day in holding, I had a bruise on my tailbone sitting on a steel bed. I'm used to a mattress, and I have a memory foam topper on top of it. I like it sweet. I went without drinking water for 13 days. I drink on average almost a gallon a day. My dog and I consume a gallon a day. You get coffee in the morning, you get Kool-Aid for lunch and dinner, and you get absolutely no water. And the only water coming out of the faucet in the bathroom is hot water. Okay, this is inhumane. I was tortured for my faith. Why would I say that? Because according to Revelation 18:4, it says, "Come out of her, my people." I am one of his people. And that Revelation 18 is all about Babylon. And yes, I did the paperwork to come out of this Babylonian system. Matthew 6:24 says, "I can't serve two masters." Well, who gets the taxes? Who gets the first tithe? The government grabs it right out of your paycheck. You don't have a choice. Steals it right from God. We don't get to give God our first fruits. I don't know what your faith is, but that's my faith. I serve the mighty Creator.
Yeah, this is not going to be relevant for this.
Yeah, and just a heads up for anybody, if you have not been to jail, I'll just let you know right now, they don't give you a room at the Marriott, okay?
Oh.
It was very boring in there. And they had some books, and I was reading on average 400-page novels every single day. But on the 5th day, the guards came in and took all the books out, so I had nothing I could read. And then the girls gave me some paper. I had 3 sheets of paper. I started writing and writing and writing, front and back, as small as I could. And when I ran out of those 3 sheets of paper, the girls in the cell on the other side started giving me paper. Why? Because I befriended them. We talked about our Savior. We talked about why we were there. I wasn't preaching. I don't preach, but I shared with them that, they got themselves in trouble. And the first thing they need to do is straighten out their lives and get right with their Creator. Because if they can do that, the rest will fall in place. And that's what I spent those 13 days doing. Trying to be a big sis or a mom to those other girls who have lost their way along the way. 5 of the girls in that prison or jail recommitted their lives to God while I was there. And I'm very happy for them, and I continue to pray for them. I want you to know, sir, that I pray for you also. I pray for every one of you, because I pray that the Father will take the veil off your eyes so you can see what's really going on here. I don't know what you know. I have no idea what you know, but I know exactly how it works. And I know about the security bond, and I know how you have hit my SUQB trust.
Okay. Yeah, I guess because you saw this already, Brian, I'm like, I could just see them easily assigning her, what's the proper word?
Psych evaluation?
Yes, thank you. Yeah, because judges have definitely, I've heard that used. I mean, we're talking some guys that really got their shit together, and they just unfortunately were forced into that venue, and that was one of those things in the back pocket that the judges will throw out. Of course, those guys were good enough; they know how to talk to those psychiatrists. But man, I guess that he won't bring it up, but I'm just like, man, he could easily. I'd say force. I guess he could force her. I mean, if they already put her in a jail cell, I mean, yeah, I could make her go see somebody. Wow.
And most judges probably would have done that 5 minutes in.
And that's what this subrogation is of that bond. Because I'll be filling out all the IRS forms. If this case is not dismissed with prejudice today, or I'll give you 3 days as it says in the document. If it's not dismissed with prejudice, then what I plan to do is fill out these IRS forms and make sure that the account that I am responsible for, I, the private woman, is responsible for the accounting of the public woman.
Oh boy. I'll keep going. It's just, man, this is word salad all over the place, people. And then she's almost doing, you got to be careful how you word stuff, folks. If they construe it as a threat, man, you're screwed. Do not threaten these people, man. Difference between threatening and promise. That's all I'm going to say. Do not threaten people. I had that thrown in my face. Like, is that a threat? I'm like, no, that's a promise. I said, if you do this to me, this is what will happen to you. That's not a threat. That's, basically just, I guess a contract in some ways.
Or the all caps name that y'all have fraudulently created. And I mean, when I say y'all, take it professionally. You obviously weren't there when I was born. But anyway, the point is, sir, that I do feel the responsibility now that I understand how all of this works, that it's my job to apply those credits to your debits. It's my job to make sure that those funds are not taken multiple times or above and beyond what's necessary. And so that's what this subrogation document is all about.
Wow. Yeah, makes no sense to me. Oh, and she's talking about some other form she created, so no idea what that looks like.
I want you to pay attention, sir, to the list on this document of the people that the distribution list. You see, I have notified the state's attorney. I came out of the system back in April of 2018. And when I moved to Hamilton, I was in Jacksonville at the time. When I moved to Hamilton, I redid my paperwork. So on the public record in this county, I have 2 filings with all my paperwork showing that I am an American, I'm not a U.S. citizen. I have an act of expatriation. I have a deed of reconveyance. I have a cancellation of all power of attorney. I have an assumed names that gives me a copyright and a registration on all of my names.
Okay.
Oh. Copyright. Okay. Yeah, that's a red flag for me, folks. Any of that stuff you're trying to do, copyright, trademark the name, do all, I mean,
Yeah, research copyright. I mean, all these things, stuff she's mentioned. I just did the rabbit hole series here a few weeks ago. I went down each thing when I first started researching to learn what everything was all about, get my head wrapped about it, and to comprehend all the moving parts that were involved with it, to see what made sense, what didn't, what was real, what wasn't real. And copyrights are for works of art, music, sculptures, paintings, things like that. You cannot copyright the legal name. And I've heard many people out there argue and scream against it. Yes, you can. Evidently, you've never gone and read the Copyright Act. That's all I'm going to say.
Now, you could do business as, okay? I do that. That's how I keep things separate. But man, you start doing all this weird stuff again. I'm telling you, folks, we warned you earlier about the whole ownership thing. I'm just telling you, you probably don't want to go down that road. I really don't think, maybe it worked for you one time, but man, these people are going to come back after you later. I'm telling you, man.
You can't make money on my names. And you'll notice on this list here, the state's attorney the state's attorney, the attorney general, were all notified back in 2018.
But no Secretary of State. Wow. Man. Gosh. Bringing up all these other employees.
American. Why they didn't notify y'all, I don't know. But why I'm being persecuted, I don't appreciate.
Okay.
On this list here, because you have deprived me of my rights, I have also included the Judicial Qualification Commission as well as others. So I yield.
Okay.
Okay, you yield. Okay. I'm ignorant of legalese, folks. Just I know a little bit, but I don't know that much. I'm not sure if that was the proper term to use there. That sounded weird. I don't know why she said yield. I understand giving the judge a chance to talk, but I don't know why that stuck out for me. Yield, I think it's something different when I hear that word. So.
Well, she had to yield so she could finally catch her breath.
Yeah. I know. Like you said, you've been waiting. We're almost there. Okay. So I know the torture's gonna we only got a couple minutes left, to see what his response is. So obviously there's not much left down there. So here he goes.
Well, I appreciate you commenting. So what we'll do is, what I'm going to do right now is continue to October 18th to see what's.
I can't do that, sir. I will be at the Feast of Tabernacles from the 1st of Tishri, which is September 26th until, let me think, what is it, 9 plus 8, around the 20th of October is the Sukkot Feast of Tabernacles. I'll be out of town for that, celebrating
What
with
about
about 300 believers.
What about November 15th?
Well, I mean, I don't plan to attend any more trials here. This is my last one.
Okay.
I'm hoping that you will do the right thing here and that the state's attorney will do that Tappa thing here. She has not proven jurisdiction. Once I
here's what we're gonna do.
consent,
Your
it is her
case is-
job to prove jurisdiction.
Your case is continued to November 15th. We're gonna take everything you said under consideration.
Okay?
I'll look at your papers. State attorney will look at them.
Okay, so sounds like she's no longer in jail, though.
Right.
Okay, so, okay, yeah, I won't go there because now I got questions in my head because I'm like, okay, what happened with her $38,000 bond? Obviously, she's traveling, so there's no restrictions they put on her. Like, I think, well, she maybe didn't say leave the state, but I don't know. I'm just, yeah, okay. At least she's no longer in jail at this point in time. I don't know. Anyways.
And on or before November 15th, we'll come to some conclusion. How about
I
that?
hope to get a letter from you. I will continue to get the information here. Is it direct, did you say?
Mr. Direct.
I will, I'll get in touch with him. Greg was telling me, and I know Greg personally, Greg was telling me that, all he does is provide you with a court case number. Somebody is creating a security on this. That's who I need to talk to. So if you know, or you can find out, those highlighted areas in these documents, as soon as I can get that information and fill it in, then the formal documents will be sent. I hope to hear from you before that, Tabitha.
Ma'am, I do not know who creates the security.
Okay, Ms. Lucille, I appreciate your comments and everything, and have a good, wherever you're going in October, wherever that is.
Feast of Tabernacles, it's
Yeah,
in Leviticus 23.
Okay.
I'd also like to mention, if you have any influence at all with the sheriff, ask him to go into that jail and find out what's really going on. It's deplorable.
Okay,
It's a disgrace.
I'll mention it to him.
Thank you.
I will. All right, well, thank you, ma'am.
Yeah.
All right,
Just quiet now.
yeah. All right, you have a good day.
Oh, it's quiet now. Now, did you hear what that judicial administrator said to her? Because that's what this is. This is an administrative hearing. All right. He said to her, hopefully on or before November 15th, you have come to some conclusion. Which means what? Back again, he's talking about negotiation. You guys need to have a meeting of the minds to get this sorted out. Because guess what? He doesn't want to listen to this crap again. Sorry to put you through this tonight, Michael.
Hopefully hopefully it helps somebody. I feel pretty useless as far as assisting you with the critique, Brian. So I'm just kind of like, wow, this is, yeah.
I think
just want to
the
eat.
critique was well done.
I just want to eat a lot of chocolate right now. I'm not depressed, but I'm getting closer to getting depressed. So, and it's not, and it has nothing, folks, just so you know, it has nothing to do, like, I don't see this woman as awful or dumb or any of that stuff. It's just, I feel very sad for her. It just breaks my heart. I don't know. That's the only way I could describe it. My heart's just very broken. There's a balance where we're all trying to just do the best we can. But, sometimes we really got to listen to the help around us, even if we don't like the constructive feedback, because we're creating our own misery. And, we got to stop that. You got to because no one else can do it for you. So I guess to end off on a positive note, okay, just if you're wondering to yourself, everyone's against you, you're always like getting thrown in a cage or living out of your car, there is corruption. There's a lot of shit that's happening that shouldn't, okay? Totally there with you. I agree with you. But you're going to have to pick and choose your battles. You're going to maybe have to adjust yourself, okay? So some folks are going to put my name together with some of the comments that you've seen in Brian's group and on his post, okay? And folks are going to be asking, like, I pick and choose my battles, folks, okay? And I don't share that a lot because people then just dismiss whatever I say, okay? You can argue I'm in the system, all that kind of stuff. All I'm going to say is I am spiritually, I keep things separate. I know, I'm going to say 100%, but I know who I am. So as far as like how I do affairs and stuff, let's just say that for whatever reasons, I don't deal with a lot of these employees and agents. And also I do have biological family. So I've actually verbalized to them because they were sharing stuff. Okay. It doesn't, and you don't need to know what that means, but you know, property and things like that. So I promised them not to quote, go into, they unfortunately label it, you know, conspiracy stuff and that kind of thing. And so I have to be respectful to them. But when I am by myself, solo, you know, I do step out of my comfort zone, but I only do it because it's only me, right? I'm accountable for my actions. I don't want anybody else to get impacted by stuff that I'm doing, especially if I haven't done all my due diligence. So that's where I'm coming from, all right? That's why you see me always recommending that you look at Brian's content, look at, you know, because, you know, he's actually, what's the word? He's stepped out of his comfort zone and he's done what's necessary. Whereas for me, I've done it a little bit, but not fully like one should. And if you want to be truly free, all right? And that's my choice. And I don't expect it or project it on anybody else. So hopefully people around me tell me in real life that I don't judge them. And hopefully you guys sense that for me, I really don't care what anybody does. Okay. I have no agenda. I just don't like to see pain. And so if I see something and I have an opinion and it might help you maybe rethink what you just did, I'm going to say something because I don't want you to continue perpetuating your misery. That's all. Okay. It doesn't mean that I'm right and you're wrong. It's just sometimes somebody else might see something and actually, if you listen to them, and all of a sudden your life might be a little bit better. Right. We're all, majority of us really have pure intentions. All right. We just maybe sometimes go about it the wrong way. And that's fine. I don't say it's fine, but we hopefully learn from that and make adjustments. All right. Because that's why I think a lot of people are getting more successful. Folks are really kind of like sharing more intel that helps us overall, because I tell you, they get you at every freaking angle. And we have different people from different backgrounds, and they're not being assholes toward each other because they're not doing it the right way or whatever crap they're throwing out. Folks, that is part of their agenda. They want to divide and conquer, right? Don't allow it in quote these groups, okay? Don't. Because I'm just telling you, man, they're succeeding. Just do the best you can. And if you hear something you don't like, you don't have to change who you are, but just maybe consider it, because it might be what is the nugget for you to make your life a little less painful, if you're going through pain, that is.
Yep, absolutely. And, you know, I'll tell you, it's one of the things I kind of struggled with when I started the Rabbit Hole series a few weeks ago, was that getting in and researching these things and studying them and finding out how all these moving parts really operated as opposed to what we're told. You know, sure, some of her conclusions, I'm not saying are 100% false or 100% right. There may be some validity to them, but there's a time and a place. There's a right way and a wrong way of using them. And this was just a total example of a perfectly wrong way to bring any of these matters up. And I'm not saying that, you know what, all this stuff has been garbage. No, there is a right way of doing things. And that's what I'm kind of trying to show people if they'll pay attention. I'm showing you these things. And get rid of these other things that are going to weigh you down and make you look like somebody you absolutely are not. You know, don't fit into this mold that they're going to presume that you are in. And like I tell people all the time, learn who you really are, where you're really from, and where you're really at, because that's going to fix a lot of these issues. Thanks for being here tonight, Michael.
Thank you for having me. Good night, folks.
Good night, guys.
Peace.